Georgia, Alabama. Sports Live will be your go-to for all your favorite high school and collegiate games this fall. From the Carver Tigers to the Columbus Blue Devils, the Harris County Tigers and Northside Patriots, the Glenwood Gators and Calvary Christian Knights, the Pacelli Vikings and Brookstone Cougars to the Smith Station Panthers and Russell County Warriors, from CVCC, Pirates basketball and baseball, and every tournament from here to Macon. We are the #1 destination for anything happening in East Alabama and West Central Georgia. Be sure to like and follow us on YouTube and Facebook, and stay tuned for even more amazing ways we will be bringing Georgia, Alabama Sports Live to you this upcoming season. We can't wait to come see you next. Welcome in, everyone, and we're back for another edition of the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show. We didn't do a show last week because we had so much going on with the GIAA, but we're glad to be back, and we got a jam-packed show for you. Thrift, Barringer, Richard Holdridge. Big Rich is on hiatus for his military duties. Big Rich, how's the first week been?
Well, it's been challenging, 12-hour work days. But I'm glad that we're able to get a show, and I'm glad that I was able to come on Sports Visions a couple of times last week, and I'm really missing all the fun that you've been having calling the soccer and the baseball games for GIAA. Definitely wish I was there, but I'm definitely going to be back next year.
Yeah, no doubt, Richard, and we did have a lot of fun. We're going to talk about that here in just a moment. We're presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC, Buffalo Rock Pepsi, Gordy Eye Care, Kinetic Credit Union, and, of course, Colin Scroggins. We appreciate them and their support of what we do here on Georgia, Alabama Sports Live. And I'm going to start it with this. I had the pleasure of being on the call for 14 state championship games, 6 soccer, 8 baseball, and, man, what a ride it was last week. From the GIAA, a top-notch organization, Clint Morgan, Stan Whitlock, Tony Morgan, Robert Slocum, Kent Copeland and the crew, of course, Brett Taylor and the GIAA.TV crew. What an unbelievable venue. First at Stratford for the soccer state championships. It was the best hospitality I've ever had, Richard. I mean, it's not even close. I know you're a hospitality type guy. You missed out on what was a feast. I probably gained about 10 pounds in those 2 days, especially on Tuesday when we had a 3-hour rain delay. All I did was sit there and eat. So thank you to Stratford. What an incredible job by them. And we'll talk about the GIAA, Pacelli in particular, when we do our soccer rankings later on in the show. And then we also are going to have baseball rankings. We're dropping them later on in the show. We got Rick Beach joining us at 9:15. We got Greg Mathis, the Brookstone coach, is going back-to-back, joining us here in just a moment. But back to the GIAA. Soccer was fun. Had a 3-hour rain delay, so the Pacelli girls beat Brookstone girls in 2 extra times when it was past midnight. So got home, got to the hotel late, slept, got up the next day, and then called 3 more games. Got home around 12, 1 o'clock, got up for the morning show on Thursday, turned and burned, and did 4 baseball games. But there was another 3-hour rain delay that prolonged the last game of the night, which was Brookstone and FPD, the 4A classification. We did not walk out of that stadium until close to 2 o'clock. Brookstone ended up winning that 9-3 in extra innings. They didn't start the game till past 10. And then on Friday, morning show, got back up, and it was just, I felt like I was just walking as a zombie, man. I was trying to hold on. I ended up crashing out, taking a little bit of a nap. Rick Beach caught me slipping and took a picture of me as I took a break in between the 3A classification. But the baseball, unbelievable. We transitioned over to Synovus Park. Pete Lavin, Brendan Seaver, the grounds crew keeper, and the entire Clingstone staff. Unbelievable host, unbelievable venue. What an atmosphere for the city of Columbus, and that, especially those 4A games, which both of them went down to the wire with Brookstone, Richard. Then, of course, the GIAA made sure it was ran well. They're a top-notch organization. All in all, the soccer and baseball champions got exactly what they deserved in those venues, and I was pleasured and honored to be on the call for those games, Richard.
Yeah, and congratulations to Citizens Christian, Gatewood, and Frederica for getting the 2-game sweep, and Brookstone getting the 2-game sweep over FPD, where you didn't have to call any games on Saturday. I know that's what I thought was going to happen, that all these games were going to be competitive, that you were going to have game 3s on Saturday. And Thrift, I know that had to have been great, especially since you had to call the Lions, where you didn't have to call any games on Saturday. I really feel for that, that rain delay, the couple of rain delays they had. Man, not getting home until 2:30 in the morning.
But listen, when you love what you do, Richard, those late nights, that doesn't bother me at all. And then I do want to also make mention too, the NAIA. Richard, you had the pleasure of being on the call for that on Friday. Mike Peacock, Noah Shelton, Ricky Rogers, and Tyler Redmond, along with me and you. We were the group of us because they had rain and changing schedules. And listen, I love the fact that by the way, Rick Beach said this show gets 25 likes. I'll post a pic of Thrift Barringer being passed out of the ballpark. Like right now. And then I promise you, Rick Beach, he'll post it when he comes on here in just a little bit. But the NAI, thank you to the entire team. Thank you to the NAI and the Columbus Sports Council. They had the GI. They're the orchestrator behind bringing the GIAA and the NAI Softball World Series here. We had a lot happening last week in this area, man. Southern Oregon was your national champions. So I got to be the pleasure of being the voice of the NAI Softball World Series with a bunch of us. And then, of course, doing the GIAA. Very busy week. I knew it was going to be a busy last 2 weeks, but now we're finally here in the summer. Thank you again to those in the GIAA for allowing us to be on the call for that. So a lot of fun last week. Glad that we got to be a part of it. Glad it's over. And now we can kind of recap everything that just happened. Talking about those state champions. We're going to talk about the Lions, Clingstones, talk about what we got coming up for the rest of June and what we have potentially coming up with Georgia Alabama Sports Live with the future. Rick Beach will be joining me for that. And then, of course, we're going to drop our rankings. But we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back from break, it's him, the man himself. It's Greg Mathis joining us. He's coming off of back-to-back state championships with his Brookstone Cougars here on the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show. You're watching right now the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show that is presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. Get ready to smile. We'll be right back after this. Georgia Alabama Sports Live is proud to partner with one of our presenting sponsors, Buffalo Rock. And without this partnership, it would be hard to be able to live stream all the different sporting events at high schools, colleges, and local professional teams every single week like we do. So we thank Buffalo Rock for their support of Georgia Alabama Sports Live. And next time you're watching a Georgia Alabama Sports Live broadcast, make sure you're drinking a nice, refreshing Pepsi. Delicious. Thank you to Buffalo Rock and Pepsi. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in right now to the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show. And now, without further ado, let's bring him on. He's the head coach of the Brookstone Cougars, back-to-back champions. He was soaking wet from getting that Gatorade or water ice bath after that championship. But, Coach, now you've had a couple days to kind of reflect on it, man. What an incredible venue, what an incredible atmosphere, and just what an incredible season for you and your Cougars to go back-to-back in the GIAA.
Yeah, I want to pile on to what you were saying about the way that the whole event, GIAA did an incredible job. I mean, if I honestly believe if we'd have been anywhere else other than down there at Synovus Park, we would have been playing into the next week. But
yep,
the grounds people and the GIA people kept everything going, and it was just an incredible thing. I was telling Richard, I know he was obligated, but man, he missed out on a really great event, all around event. I mean, not just for Brookstone, just the every classification. And we had a tremendous crowd there. I saw some alumni that were there. My brother came down from North Carolina. My sisters, Jean, Janet, and Judy, they were all watching it on the GIA network. So we had a lot of people watching the game, but we also had a lot of people that actually came down to Synovus Park and supported Brookstone. And we're very thankful for all the support that we got. And it wasn't just Brookstone people. It was people from all over Columbus and Phoenix City, which it just tags on what I say all the time about what a great community this is and how big we are when it comes to supporting local teams.
Let's talk about Mercer Hudson, Coach Mathis. So, early on in the playoffs, he was struggling at the plate, and he was obviously going through a little bit of a slump. And then about that second to last game of the Tatnall, game 2 of the Tatnall series, he hit 3 hits there to help, obviously, for you to win that game. And he got kind of turned around in the first game that you won 13-3. But in this championship series, to have 6 hits and all of them coming up in the biggest moments, and then being able to put him at catcher, first base, right field, center field, heck, he can even pitch. To have a guy like that on your team and then him delivering as a captain in the biggest series of the year, what can you say about him as he was the MVP, in my opinion? I think pretty unanimous MVP of the series, Coach.
Well, yeah, he's he's special. He's been playing here since he was a freshman. He's just an athlete, can play anywhere. He's going to Pensacola State. He'll be down there with Taft Middleton, who's had a really good year this year. And he's just a good all-around guy, great teammate, was an outstanding football player. If you remember, he was a defensive player of the year in football. So
yeah,
there's not a whole lot you can say other than we're going to miss him. Obviously, it's going to be hard to replace him, but he had a great series. And, the guys like him, they're going to step up when it comes time to step up. But we had other guys when he was struggling, like Luke Lowry. I mean, in this previous series, I think he had 5 or 6 hits. So
yep,
we've just had people do that, step up all year long when we've had somebody hurt. We had Maxwell Jones out a little bit right toward the back quarter of the season, and then we had other guys step up. Shanu, we moved him to the outfield, and he had a big hit the other day in that game. So, that's what it takes to win a championship. You're going to have guys. When people go down, people are going to have to step up. That's just what's got to happen. If it doesn't happen, you're going to go home.
Coach, what did it mean to not only win back-to-back championships, but to win again against FPD, but this time in Columbus? How special was that to win this championship here in Columbus?
Yeah, well, winning it in Columbus was just really special because I grew up here. I'm from here. I played at CVCC. I tell people all the time I've been very fortunate in my baseball life. I played for Bobby Howard over at Kendrick, and now I'm coaching with. I got to coach with him. Now he's coaching with me. I got to play for B.R. Johnson over at CVCC, legendary coach over there. And then I played at Columbus. It was Columbus College back then. I played at Columbus College for Coach Ragsdale. Charlie Ragsdale is another Hall of Fame guy. So, I've been blessed to be around a lot of great, great baseball people. But, to be able to win a state championship in your home city is just, I don't even know the words to describe it, but it's special. And it's something I was telling a couple of parents that I'm running into people all the time now when I go to the store. My wife says, can you go by Publix, pick something up? Well, I go on Bradley Park Publix. I'm going to run into about 10 Brookstone people. So
yeah.
But we've been getting good congratulations. But, I just said, it was so special to have everybody down there. And that's going to be something that these boys remember for the rest of their life, that, they won a state championship down there at Synovus Park. So it was so special. You can't even describe it. to be. And then like we've been saying the whole time, what a beautiful, beautiful venue. That place, they have done a great job with that place, with all the boxes and everything. It's a great park.
It definitely is, man. And it was awesome to call games there, and had the pleasure again with Steve Smith, Rick Beach, and of course Dave Plata on the calls for those games. Coach Brennan Neal. I know everybody talked about there's a kid on FPD for those who weren't able to watch. His name is Keon Johnson. He's going to Vanderbilt, but he's only a junior. The guy's a stud. But you got one too. Brennan Neal, who was great at the plate, obviously sensational at shortstop. But both games, you had him coming in those closing moments. You had him coming in to maintain that tie, to send you to extra innings in game one, because you knew how big of that game that was and you wanted to get that win. Then you had Luke Lowry, who was sensational. We'll talk about him in a moment. And Chanu Kim was great too. Both of them did great. But then having Neal come in those closing moments, knowing you can put a sophomore in that position and him to deliver for you, the future is going to be bright for this young man.
Yeah, well, Brennan is like I said, he's a special player too. So is Keon, and it was quite a matchup to see those guys at shortstop, and both of them at the plate. But Brennan has really had to step up, because earlier in the season, the guy that we had that was supposed to be our number 2 guy, Ben Ivy, got hurt, and he's actually having surgery coming up. And so we're sitting here that's another one of those injuries, overcoming injuries that we talk about. I had all intent of using Brendan in the closer role the whole season.
Right.
And just letting him be full-time shortstop. But when Ben went down, we called on Brendan to pitch a little more. And then, of course, Luke Lowry stepped up. He went 7-1 this year. Luke Vale, our whole pitching staff, I was looking at the numbers. I didn't realize we set a school record this year. Our ERA was 1.50. That's a new school record. So we're not even giving up. And then opponents, they batted 193 against us. So, I mean, those are just video game type numbers. I mean, that type of ERA and a low batting average where the team doesn't even score 2 runs against you. I said all along, this is a different team. We don't hit it as well as that group last year, but we play defense and pitch just as good. So, but Brendan, 2 years in a row, he's done everything we've asked him to do in the state championship game. I don't know that he's given up a run maybe in 2 years. I'll have to think back, but I mean, he's just been phenomenal. And the future's only brighter. He's only a sophomore. So that's good for us and bad for everybody else. So we'll see how it goes, but he's a great kid. He's the hardest worker. When you're one of the most talented and you're one of the hardest workers, it's just going to make everybody else work harder, and it's just going to breed success. So far it has,
Coach, when you compare this year's team to last year's team, and we've happened to be privileged to call games from last year as well, so we knew the likes of Taft Middleton, Madden Dismuke, and Cole Stanzel. That's a lot of great players that graduated from last year's team. And I know that maybe some of the voters that vote in the GIAA didn't rank you number 1 because they saw that you lost a lot of players from last year's team, but your team this year proven that not only can you rebuild, you could also reload. And you had a lot of great players from last year's team coming back. Did that motivate the team this year to try to play to win for a championship, because the voters were not voting Brookstone number 1? Because, again, you're the number 2 seed going up against FPD. Was that like a motivating factor this year, or was it just business as usual? Let's just play, and you guys were able to do your thing and win another championship?
Yeah, kids nowadays are so much into social media that they, I don't like to compare teams, but, you do after it's over. But kids now are so much into social media. They sit there, they look at those polls, and they look at this show, and they look at everything that's going on. And they had that one poll. I can't even coaches something.
Coach's box.
Coach's box, Georgia.
Nah, we don't mention that poll on here. That's a joke.
Yeah, you didn't never know what was going to show up on that one. But then Max Preps it's just hard to figure them out sometimes. But it's kind of eerie how everything played out about the same. We went in number 2 last year, and then FPD was number 1, and that's kind of crazy how it all played out. So, I think the boys learned a lesson about polls is that the only one I looked it up today, and so they had us number 1. I didn't know if they were going to try to pull something, even though we won it. But you might want to check coach's box. They might have us ranked 4th or something like that, even though we won state championship. But I think they learned a lot. But I think it was a motivating factor because everybody wants to be number 1, and that's a big thing now. Social media, being able to say we're the best team or we're the number 1 ranked team. So I think it motivated the guys. But this team's just different, and this team is just a tough team that just. I think we got smacked in the mouth in that Calvary series, and that was a wake-up call because I was looking at it. I mean, after that, we played Strong Rock, Bullocks, Tatnall, and FPD, and that is 4 really good teams. And but I think the way that we decided to do our region against Calvary, Pacelli, Strong Rock, Westfield – playing a 3-game series, I think that just prepares us for the playoffs because the Macon schools, they only play 2 games a week. So they don't quite develop, in my opinion, they don't develop that third pitcher like we do. It's a luxury to be able to go with either Luke Lowry or Luke Vale or Brendan Neal as your number 3 pitcher. So I think, getting back to what you said, though, I think it was a motivation for the kids, and this group was just hungry this year. I think they wanted to prove that they were as good as last year's team, if that makes any sense. Yeah. They did not want people to say, well, y'all won it because you had this guy and that guy and that guy. So they wanted to make a name for themselves. And that's part of what our thing was. There's a scene in Troy where Achilles says, about fighting that big old behemoth up there in the movie. And the little boy comes up and says, I can't believe you fight a guy that big. And they said, well, that nobody won't remember your name unless you do something like that, something special. And that was one of our themes that you heard me on the video saying, if you do this, these people will remember your name. And there's going to be some people, some of them young boys running around Brookstone are going to remember these guys' names. And hopefully it'll motivate them to want to come up and be a good baseball player. So
His name is Greg Mathis. He's a head coach at Brookstone. Back-to-back, he now has as a program that is dominant. Coach, it is awesome to see what you've done here in such a short period of time and only 3 years. You talked about it, 28-5 last year, 28-6 this year, 56-11 over a 2-year span, and winning a championship, 12-1 in the playoffs, by the way. The only loss was that Bullet game, which was like an eye-opener, I think, for your team because since that moment and obviously the guy that was the best pitcher I think you've seen the entire playoff run, and ever since that moment, this team has just been on another level. But, Coach, I do got to ask you a question, though, and I asked it, and I think I got around to it, but I was over-talking a little bit, and I tend to do that when asking these questions. But talking about you personally, man, and I want to set it up like this. As a guy that was a longtime assistant coach and has been in the game of baseball for a while, I don't know if you ever wanted to be the head coach somewhere or if this just happened with the Brookstone job or you have been looking for years and finally someone gave you that opportunity. But everything happens for a reason, Coach. I firmly believe that. I believe this was the right time for you to take over a program, and look what you have done. Have you been able to take some time to kind of reflect like, man, this is pretty cool? I mean, it was nice being an assistant coach for those Columbus High teams, but here I'm the head honcho. And to win back-to-back and have it in your name, Coach, it makes me happy. I'm proud of you, and I know this is going to put you in there as one of the all-time great coaches we've had in this area because of going back-to-back.
Well, I tell everybody, me and DJ joke about it all the time. We're just 2 guys from East Columbus that grew up over there on that side of town. And, I tell everybody, my parents divorced when I was 12. it was guys like Bobby Howard and Ben Scott was my high school coach. Joe Pate, Cleophas Hope is a name that passed away, and these guys looked out for me because I was raised by a single mom, and that's what made me want to get into coaching. But I was a head coach when I first started over at Woodland Christian over in the Alabama APSA, and then I was head coach at Americas for 1 year, and then I got out of it and ran a business, and it was Bobby Howard that got me back into coaching with him. And I'm grateful to all the people, all the guys I've been around, but I've been blessed. But I still say that this Brookstone is a great situation for me,
right?
Because it's the components that are here. I got good players that are good students of the game. I've got a great administration, and you saw that from dealing with them down at Golden Park, all the athletic department and the headmaster.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I've got great parents who give us the resources to be successful. And then there's a factor that I we never hear it much because we get so caught up in talking about ourselves and everything that's going on. I'm very fortunate. My wife grew up around sports. I was very fortunate. I married Herbert Green's daughter. Melissa's my wife.
Yep.
And we've been married 33 years, and I love her to death. And, these young coaches got to understand you better date or you better marry a woman that knows and understands. Because my wife grew up at Auburn University when Coach Green was coaching Charles Barkley and guys like that. And she knew that if a coach is going to be successful, they have to put in a lot of long hours. So she's just a great support system for me. I love her to death. And, these young guys better find somebody like her if they want to be successful. Because that doesn't get talked about a lot, but it's you got to have that support, from your wife when you go home. And but yeah, Brookstone's a great place for me, and it was the right place. I just I feel like God blessed me to be in the right place at the right time over here, and we seem like we're on a roll, and we've got some good young guys coming in, and hopefully we can keep it going. It's amazing though. The minute that you get done, everybody starts calling you, wanting to schedule and talking about three-peating. So you don't even get a chance. You don't even get a chance to take a break. But hey, that's why we're in this thing. We love sports, and that's what we love to do. So it's been a blessing, and Brookstone's a great place to be as a student and as an athlete.
Coach, you've etched your name, in my opinion, is the best in Brookstone history. And I think you've etched your name, too, as a potential Chattahoochee Valley Sports Hall of Famer, man. So it's been an honor. Thank you so much to you. I'm going to say Jeff Hudson, Mercer Hudson's dad, A.T. Williams Neal, Chanu Kim's dad, and really everyone involved, Mark Baker, all the parents that kind of rallied together that allowed us to – we did 12 regular season games, Coach, and then we did all the home playoff games, which were 5 playoff games because we weren't able to do the championship. So close to 20 games we did this year. Unbelievable ride. Glad that we were able to be a part of it. Thank you so much for allowing us to be a part of it, Coach. And it was an honor to be able to call that state championship game back to back. And it's just that atmosphere and how loud it was there. You had to have chills, and I know your guys, that made them play harder too. Having that type of fan base. I know baseball is not like football and basketball, which, sometimes the crowd noise doesn't matter as much. But in my opinion, in high school baseball, it does. And it dang sure mattered at Synovus Park.
Yeah, it was great. And like I said, that fans and those parents you're talking about, that's, like I said, that's part of the components that you got to have to be successful. And, you guys have got something special going here with Georgia Alabama Sports Live. And I truly believe that. It's something that we've needed around here for a while. And, we just got to do a better job, of getting the word out of the way y'all broadcast the games. And
thank you, Coach.
You guys and Rich do such a great job. And we're just blessed to have you guys with us. And I thank y'all for the coverage over the last 2 seasons. It's been great, and we want to grow with y'all. So, great job, guys. Great job.
I'll never forget, as I've told C. Smith, Tim Fanning, Harris County, everybody that's hopped on board from the very beginning when we were just, hey, that's nice. That's pretty cool. That's a nice idea to hopefully turning into ESPN of this area. I'll never forget the guys that have taken care of us, and you're one of them, Coach. We love you. Congratulations. You're back-to-back state champs, and go enjoy it here the next couple of weeks because I know you got summer baseball starting soon.
Yeah, we got to hit that weight room. Hey, I appreciate you guys, and we love y'all. Y'all take care. That is Coach Greg Mathis, state championship winning coach. We'll take a break. When we come back, it'll be me and Rick Beach. I'm going to talk to him about taking that picture of me sleeping, and I'm going to reprimand him right here live on air. No, we got a lot we're going to be getting into. We're going to talk the GIAA championships. I'm going to talk about the future with him because he's a big part of Georgia Alabama Sports Live, and then I'll come back after that break with me and Richard, and we'll finally do those rankings. So don't go anywhere. That's called a teaser. Rankings are at the end, and you're going to want to hear them here on the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show. You're watching right now the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show that is presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. Get ready to smile. We'll be right back after this.
Even though I'm away at college, Kinetic Credit Union is still the best way for me to stay connected here and at home. With the Kinetic mobile app, I have control of my accounts wherever I go. I can easily transfer money between internal and external accounts, get money faster by setting up recurring transfers, and I can find the nearest ATM or branch right from my phone. Plus, I can add my Kinetic cards to my phone's digital wallet and enjoy quick, secure, contactless payments. By the way, Mom, I need some more money.
Kinetic Credit Union, the energy for your dreams.
Ain't talking about jail. Money get counted, like I'm paying the bill. Straight out of Harris County. Ain't talking about Houston. I'm in Georgia with dogs and tigers. I'm from the county. Ain't talking about jail. Money get counted, like I'm paying the bill. Straight out of Harris County. Ain't talking about Houston. I'm in Georgia with dogs and tigers.
How about Rick Beach and Kudzu Sports here on the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show, man? That was an excellent intro. We're going to have to let that video end out. And here he is, the voice of the county, executive of content on Georgia Alabama Sports Live, Vice President, Big Rick Beach. What's going on, man?
The 25 likes so we can post that picture of you sleeping.
We got 10 right now, so we need 15 more. So if you're watching, go ahead and give 15 more. You want to see that me sleeping.
And I want to make sure people understand, like, the likes, and when you're watching a live event, for any sport, the likes matter. The likes help drive the content to more people. It helps share it. More people get to see it. It goes to more eyeballs. We always want comments and likes. The problem is when we're giving, play-by-play, doing that stuff, it's hard for us to remember to say, hey, hit that like button, hit that share button, hit that, leave a comment. So anytime you're watching the game, I want people to type in what school you went to. If you're one of the two teams playing, put what year you graduated, put a fun fact, put you played that sport or you played another sport, who your coach was, something, leave a comment. And, we want to get the interactions higher on our videos, including the shows that we do, but especially these games, because we want more people from your school to see what we're doing. Like Coach Mathis said, we want more people to know what Georgia Alabama Sports Live is doing.
100% on that, Rick, and I will second everything you just said. All right, a couple of things we're going to be getting into. We'll first start with the GIAA. Rick, you got to be on the call for those 3A state championships. You were on the call with the Brookstone as well. You were there and seeing that how they were ran. Great job by Synovus Park. Great job, obviously, by the GIAA. What were your thoughts, though, of being a part of that, man?
Hey, first-class operation, the GIAA. Everything from, they had everything ready for us. They had the setup. They had the notes. They had rosters. They had fast facts. They had, we found out a guy from Frederica was an Elvis impersonator. We had all kind of stuff that was just fun to do. But it was just a first-class operation. And like you said, they had, all kind of, they had the food set up, the drinks. So there's nothing we did without at all.
No, at all, man. And thank you again for them taking care of us. Glad that we were able to do that. Frederica, you were on the call for that. They were able to take down Pinewood, and then you had Citizens Christian. They were able to sweep Vidalia Heritage in 1A, and then in 2A, the Gatewood Gators were able to take down now Southwest Georgia Academy Warriors. So we have our 4 champions. But Rick, glad that we were able to do that. And that's kind of a part of what we're doing here at Georgia Alabama Sports Live. But one of the main reasons I wanted to have you on is talk about the future, as what we did this past year was unbelievable, man. The fact that we were able to broadcast, I think, close to 500 games, between 400 and 500. We were getting close to 50 a month, and them getting thousands of views, which in turn translates to millions of views we accumulated over the year. Did we think this was going to happen in year 2? We knew big things were on the horizon. We did something special last year, Rick. You came on board from the very beginning, and since you jumping on board, we'll talk about Harris County in just a moment. I want to talk about the whole Georgia Alabama Sports Live in general. You saw what this company was going to be, and you've really been a focal point in helping get sponsors, helping grow the vision of this company, which is why I said vice president. And now seeing what we did this past year, I think we know, and I think that hopefully the entire community knows why we do this. And we're eventually going to try to be the one-stop shop for all things sports related, whether it be highlights, whether it be like us giving you plenty of shows, giving you obviously the live streaming of games, the rankings. We're trying to touch everything. And obviously it takes time to be able to do that. But I thought all in all, though, this year, number 2, blew my expectations from what was an incredible year, number 1.
Oh, absolutely. And like you said, we wanted to be the one-stop shop for all things sports. And we got the talk shows, the live events, coaches shows, AD shows. We have, anything that you may, think about that you might want to see. But why stop there? There's so many things that we're capable of doing. And, you want to tell people, that we're growing. There's so many things that we want to do that we haven't even scratched the surface yet. We've done small stuff just to see if we could do it. And then we find out, hey, we can make documentaries. We made a little small documentary last year. Why not make more documentaries? There's a bunch of history in Columbus athletics. There's so many athletes that came out of Columbus, so many great coaches that came out of Columbus, Phoenix City, all over this area. So in the rivalries, the history of these rivalries, and it's, why not share it? Why not find a way to tell these stories, whether it's in a podcast form or documentary form? There's so many things that we can do at Georgia Alabama Sports Live, and the people got to recognize we're going to do them at Georgia Alabama Sports Live.
100%, and we're also growing our team. And Rick, it was me, you, Richard Holdridge, Toygar Isla, Chris Gates last year. That was the crew that knocked out everything that we were able to do, which we did a lot. Obviously, not near as much as we've done this year. It was like a fourth, really almost an eighth of what we did this year. But adding guys like Brandon Swobel and Bain Robertson, who Brandon kind of took on that Harris County role before having his newborn baby, which he'll be back joining us again for this upcoming year. So we're excited to have Brandon, who's been MVP. Obviously, adding guys like Tyler Dykes, and then Riley Bamberger, Noah Shelton, Mike Peacock, Rex Castillo. Those are just some, to name a few. I know I'm leaving off some people now, Rick, so make sure I don't leave off anybody. But this team, obviously Richard Holdridge, but this team, as we continue to do more and more, Robert Edmonds, having guys that want to step up, want to help grow the brand, understand what the brand is. I just thought it was a good time to have me and you come on, kind of give like a State of the Union, because in the near future, we're going to be dropping new shows and kind of our new lineup as what we're going to try to attack for next year. The game coverage is not going to change. It's really going to be about the same, other than we may be adding a few more games here or there. But the overall landscape of how we go about our short form content, our reels, our highlights, the shows, that's going to be more and more put out there. So I want your support. And if you're interested as a broadcaster, someone that may potentially want to help out with growing, we're always looking to expand our team. Reach out to me or Rick Beach. We'll let you know. We got some interest meetings and stuff like that will come up here in the month of June. But I'm excited about what the future holds, man. And I'm excited, too, in our partnership with Only Colga and, of course, Colin Scroggin, CNAW2 News, and being that sports provider for them. And they got some big things coming up, too, that I don't want to spoil yet, but we're going to be a big part of their big plans as well. And I'm really excited about the future, man. And more than anything, it's not about me. It's not about you, Rick. It's not about Richard or any of the other talent that we got, whoever is on camera. This is about the kids. This is about the programs. And now we are taking our coverage and expanding those eyeballs. Now, instead of just this area, which we want everyone in this area to know about every team, but we want people outside this area and both the entire state of Alabama and Georgia, eventually move to the Southeast. We're trying to touch a ton of people and realize, hey, in this Southeast Georgia, West Central Georgia, East Alabama, that we have some talented people and teams, coaches, players that need to showcase across the Southeast and across the nation, man. And I'm glad that we're able to do it.
Oh, absolutely. Because in high school athletics, there's 2 areas in the state of Georgia that gets recognized, not just in football and all athletics. South Georgia, Metro Atlanta. That seems to be where most people focus on. Look, the Columbus, Phoenix City area has the best athletes in the country. You just turn on the TV on an MLB or NFL or NBA. You see kids from this area doing big things. And Georgia Alabama Sports Live is where people can watch those kids. And hopefully, it's not just on the field. We'll kind of say what we did with Kudzu. Kudzu sometimes it's Harris County, yes. But sometimes it's like we mentioned the Manchester documentary. It's a testing to see what can Georgia Alabama Sports Live do. We try to internship, see if we could do this. Hey, we found out we can. So we're not just on the field. We're taking kids off the field and finding them roles and saying, hey, they want to go to college in media. They want to do things. So Georgia Alabama Sports Live is able to provide them a service that maybe they couldn't get at the school.
Yeah, exactly, Rick. And I'm glad you brought that up because that will be a transition to Kudzu. And for everyone to understand that as we continue to grow, what we've done in Harris County as a guinea pig almost, especially going back to football last year, we hit a hot tiger, if you will, and they were hot, and they rolled into 11 wins and went to the quarterfinals, best in school history, and we were able to do all those games, Rick, and we knew, man, Harris County, and I've said this over and over again, is a growing community, but it's also a sleeping giant. And so you already being established there as the guy where all things Harris County, you get it from Kudzu Sports. It only made sense for Georgia Alabama Sports Live to partner, and you being under the umbrella and having its own separate entity under Georgia Alabama Sports Live with Kudzu and Harris County. And that's why when people see this, and I want them to understand that this is all one thing, dude. Yeah. We're all one thing. Kudzu is Harris County. Harris County is Kudzu, and then we're showcasing this on Georgia Alabama Sports Live, and we're going to continue to do that. But there are things that we have done this past year that I know people have asked that we've done at Harris County. Again, we do a lot of those things to kind of test the waters to see what we want to try to showcase for next year, because obviously we have a lot of schools. We want to make sure every school gets that amount of love, Rick, but it's hard testing it out at every single school. So we needed that guinea pig, and Rick Beach, you're always the one with the ideas. I'm not going to even say I don't have most of these ideas are Rick Beach just doing this on his own, and I just say go do it because that's the type of guy I am, and I believe in his vision too of where we're taking this company. But I'm so thankful for our partnership. I'm thankful for you wanting to come and believe in Georgia Alabama Sports Live, and I'm excited about next year, guys. I really am. You're going to thoroughly enjoy what we're going to be dropping on our platforms coming up here the next few weeks. And I know specifically for Harris County, it's just been awesome to see the growth of not just football, but softball winning a state championship, soccer making the playoffs, volleyball being competitive, basketball making a hire with Lucy Ellison, girls basketball being a dominant program and a program that's been the Final Four and Elite Eight several years. And Coach Ramsey Dunn's going to get her state championship, I promise you. To baseball, come on, man. And Tony Dimitri, he's got probably the best collection of young talent in our entire area. I just think it's awesome what's going on up there in the county, and I know you enjoy being a part of that, man.
Yeah, it's insane just the last few years how so many sports, Mia over on the swim team coming in second in the state, going to Old Dominion, a D1 school on a swimming scholarship. And what's fun is not many people knew Harris County had a swim team, but being able to promote that, being able to show these kids off, we had Coach Hardy when on the coaches show, Coach Desmond came on about track. Coach Ellis with the cross-country team coming in, talking about Effie Ward and his girls and guys and, getting out of school at 5:30, 5 o'clock in the morning during the summer. And you hear about these things, and I think it's awesome for the community to hear because I think they kind of get on social media and they believe this thing. Well, the school's spending all this money on these athletes. They ain't even done nothing. The athletes are doing a heck of a job. State championship, competing for state championships and all kinds of sport. The excitement now around Coach Ellison with the basketball team, the excitement around, softball trying to repeat as state champions. The excitement for football is year round now. It's not seasonal. It's not, hey, well, this is over, we can focus. The excitement about football is through the roof. But baseball has always been kind of the heart and soul of Harris County. It's always just how it is in the area, and that hasn't changed. And now this baseball team is, it's on the cusp of really doing something great.
When you build something, you got to have people that care about what you're building. All right. You got to have people that are passionate about sports, passionate about high school athletics, passionate about giving these kids exposure that maybe you yourself didn't get when you were playing. And that's why I'm thankful that I have you, that I have Richard, that I have the entire team that believe in this vision, that have the passion. Because I want to say this, guys, it's not easy going and working full-time jobs. Rick Beach gets up every morning around 2 o'clock, works his full-time job, and go call Harris County till 9 or 10 o'clock at night and get up and do the same thing the next day. Brandon Schwabel, Chris Gates, Tori Gar-Isla, all of them have jobs. They have to beat up at the crack of dawn, and yet they're producing 3 or 4 times a week. Richard Holdridge, same thing. You got to have guys that are dedicated, and I am so thankful that I have a great team, and it starts with you, man. Rick, as you're kind of in charge of all the talent and everything. And I'm excited. That was the whole reason of this segment. Talk about hey, coming up in the future, guys that are watching, ladies and gentlemen, we have even bigger and better things. If you think we're good now, you cannot, I promise you, you're going to see what's in store for us coming up. And you talked about documentaries. You talk about more shows, more rankings, more opinions, more time to shine a light on all these teams around the area. I'm excited about it. But Rick, before I let you go, I did want to talk about Columbus Lions. So Lions were on a winning streak, and as me and you being the voices of it, 33-7 was a score with about 4 minutes left in the third quarter. I thought this game's done. They're just going to focus on getting ready for Beaumont, who they played this upcoming Saturday for the American League Division Championship. And then we saw one of the more incredible comebacks I think I've ever seen and witnessed and called. They eventually kicked the field goal. They were up 36-20. The team that they played, Wheeling Miners, scored another touchdown and a 2-point conversion, made it 36-28. The Lions then got the ball back with about 2.5 minutes, scored what I thought was the nail in the coffin, put it on ice. I said this on air to make it 44-28, Rick. Okay, that was a score. 44-28 with 55 seconds left in the game. No chance. 2 touchdowns and 2 2-point conversions. Wheeling then goes on to score very quickly in about 35 seconds. They onside kick it and get it back with 17 seconds. And the very next play, they do a Boise State hook and lateral and then get the 2-point conversion again. We go to overtime. Columbus gets stopped on downs, and the Miners kick the game-winning field goal. In the end, though, this game didn't mean much because this was kind of like when we see like the Braves, if they've already clinched a playoff spot, or if in the NBA when the number 1 seed already is clinched. The game didn't matter. It didn't change anything. Doesn't change what time you play next week. But you do want to win, and obviously you were trying to win for Vincent Espinoza, the quarterback who just lost his newborn baby girl that we dedicated the broadcast to, Akira Mina Espinoza. But, Rick, to see that, for one, I was impressed by Wheeling and the hook and lateral. But for the Lions, you think this could be something that could be a lingering effect as they head to take on Beaumont in the championship game this Saturday?
In the moment, yes. I thought, when the game was over, I was like, well, that's just heartbreaking. How do you pick up the pieces and move on after blowing a big lead like that? But then, as you mentioned, with the whole Vincent Espinoza, with his daughter passing away, it puts it in perspective. It's a game. It's at the end of the day, it's just a game. And for those guys, when they went in the locker room, losing the Wheeling wasn't on their mind. Vincent was on their mind. Their brother was on their mind, and having that. And I think that it can be a unifying thing where, like, look, okay, we lost the game, but we also have stuff we got to tend to off the field, and we have a guy that's hurting unimaginably on our team, and we got to be there for him. So whether we won or lost, that's what our number one goal was going to be. And so I think, like I said, in the moment, it was devastating, but by the time we got done packing up our stuff, I think it was just kind of when they went in that locker room, Wheeling wasn't on their mind.
No.
And even if they won the game, Wheeling wasn't going to be on their mind.
Right.
And so I think at the end of the day, okay, it was fun for Wheeling. That was their season. They're not going to the playoffs. But for Columbus, I don't think they'll affect them against Beaumont one bit.
I'm with you, man. They were up 33-7. They came out clicking on all cylinders without their quarterback. The defense was lights out. I think this was more of like they lost focus. They knew the game didn't matter as much. I think they're going to come in and continue to play the way they played before that fourth quarter. From the first 3 quarters of that game and the previous 3 games, the Lions have been dominant and been the best team in the NAL. I think that continues this Saturday at 7 p.m. We'll be watching it, Rick. If they win that, they're going to the NAL championship. Tell everybody where they can find you on social media and what you got coming up for Kudzu and Harris County here on Georgia Alabama Sports Live this month.
Just go to @Kudzu Sports on all social media platforms. I think TikTok's @Kudzu Sports HC because I kind of screwed up when TikTok first came up. So I had to fix that. So @Kudzu HC. And, just pick up from there. Like I said, and also I'm sure GM Nate would appreciate us saying, in Casey, the poor decisions thing Saturday, the watch party, if anybody wanted to go watch the Lions game with the crew, I think everybody's going to be there from the Lions staff watching the game. So I know that was at Poor Decisions, and Casey and Richard and GM Nate would appreciate that.
I love the GM Nate thing. His name is Rick Beach. He's an executive of Georgia Alabama Sports Live, a pretty dadgum big one. And then he's also the creator of Kudzu Sports, our Harris County affiliate on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. Big Rick, thank you so much again for joining us. And guys, I promise you, after we have our end of the year meeting on Sunday, we're going to be dropping some things. So follow us on social media. You're going to see what we got in store for you, which includes state of the program, sitting with an athletic director. And I think we may even have Harris County kind of jump off that series first. We'll talk about that. We'll see what it's going to be. But just know that's coming up in the future. Rick, thank you so much, man.
All right, Thrift. See y'all later.
That's Rick Beach. We'll take a break. When we come back, me and Richard are going to do those rankings. We're going to get out of here. We knew it was going to be a long show, but we haven't done one in over a week, and we had a lot to talk about here. It's the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show. We'll be right back after this. You're watching right now the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show that is presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. Get ready to smile. We'll be right back after this.
Hi, my name is Griff Gordy, and here at Gordy Eye Care, we have been serving the Bi-City community for 17 years. As a former state championship quarterback, I love the fact that I can watch local high school athletics from the comfort of my own home. So it was a no-brainer to support Georgia Alabama Sports Live and what they do for young athletes in our area.
And without business like yourself, Gordy Eye Care, none of our coverage would be possible to be able to cover the 16 different high schools, the local colleges, and professional teams. So we'd like to say thank you to you, Dr. Griff Gordy and Gordy Eye Care, for your support of Georgia Alabama Sports Live. And then you can make an appointment today at Gordy Eye Care with the number 334-291-5125. Keep supporting Gordy Eye Care and keep watching Georgia Alabama Sports Live.
Welcome to the Campus Academy Private School, where every student is celebrated for their individuality. With personalized curriculum, students unlock their potential, growing into confident learners. At the Campus Academy, we give teachers the freedom to create dynamic classrooms where every student's voice is heard. Discover the difference. Enroll your child today and watch them thrive.
Welcome back, everyone. The Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show. Okay, come in. It's time. I know you've been waiting. You're like, holy smokes, Thrift, 56 minutes you've spent, and we have not talked rankings. It's time. We're going to talk the rankings. Richard, drop them. Let's first start with baseball. Number 10, Shaw Raiders. Good season for Coach Shackelford. They came second place in the region. Lost that first-round matchup. You were there for that against Crisp County. If they had won, they would have beat Columbus. But good season for them. Same thing with Pacelli, a young team. Both them and Shaw both had a lot of underclassmen. Pacelli was able to have some pretty big wins, including beating Lakeside right before their playoff game and right before Lakeside state championship matchup, which I thought was really cool. But Pacelli, number 9, Shaw, number 10. What do you got?
Well, Shaw, they lost to Crisp County in the first round of the playoffs. Shaw was the 11th seed. It was the third straight year that they actually hosted a playoff series at home. But it was an unfortunate first round exit. Pacelli losing in the first round to Bullock Academy, a very talented team. Columbus losing in the second round to Crisp County. It was Michael Nodelman pitched to Jim in that game one. And Crisp County, with their backs against the walls, they were able to get past Columbus. We had that whole series on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. I want to thank Nick Nodelman for really helping us and supporting us with that. I think the rankings is where I like where the rankings are. We did have some teams that did make the playoffs that were outside of the top 10, like Jordan and Hardaway. But yeah, the rankings are perfect where they are.
Number 8, Columbus High. They lost in the second round in three games to Crisp County. They were very close to making it to the quarterfinals. Michael Nodelman, the junior, he's going to be sensational next year. He is on my list as one of the top players returning next year. The guy was the number one pitcher, was the best hitter, just the best player in general. So Columbus, number 8. Calvary, number 7. Calvary had the team that beat Brookstone 2 out of 3. And I think if they had been where they originally were seeded, which was the 5 seed, I think they had a potential chance to take down FPD, take down Athens Christian, and would have made it to that championship game against Brookstone. But they got in a tough bracket against a Strong Rock team that they were very familiar with, and they had a tough 3-game stretch with them in their region. So when they face them off again, that's always tough beating a team twice like that. And then end up coming up short. But Calvary, number 7, Columbus, number 8. What do you got to say, Rich?
Well, Calvary first year in the GIAA, we were on the call for that series against Strong Rock. Strong Rock was just a very good team in the GIAA, and just that familiarity, that series could have gone either way. I agree. If Calvary was at least the 5 seed, they might have got a win over Athens Christian or Bethlehem Christian, depending on what the seedings were going to be. And, we could play the what-if game. They might have beat FPD, and we could have had a Brookstone Calvary championship at Synovus Park. But, it was just the way that everything fell. But a terrific season by Coach Steve Smith and the boys. And, the players like Tommy Irving and Cam Houston and Bryson Brooks are going to go off and play college baseball, and they're going to have fantastic careers. And, watch out for Fitz Stone. He is going to be a sophomore next year. I think Calvary, the future looks bright, and they're going to be competing with Brookstone in the GIAA next year.
Yeah, no, they 100% will. All right, top 5. We have 2 teams right top in the top 5. This was a coin flip. I would probably lean a little bit more towards Northside since they came second in the region and they were higher on max preps, but Harris County did take 2 or 3 from them. They both lost in the second round against really good teams in Blessed Trinity and Alatoona. Harris County and Northside, both incredible years. I'd said Tracy Powell and Northside were the most improved team. He was, in my opinion, the coach of the year in our area. And I think what Coach Powell did at Northside was incredible. And Coach Tony Dimitri has the young talent in a few years that could win a championship. Harris County, Northside, what do you got, Rich?
Yeah, this was a coin flip. And really just that series Northside had with Stars Mill really was the difference. Harris County did not fare as well against Stars Mill. Central of Carrollton actually lost. You had these top 4 teams. Stars Mill gets the number 1 seed. Northside able to get the number 2 seed and host Midtown. Harris County, I was very impressed with them getting us a win on the road.
Yep.
First round of the playoffs, but both teams making it to the second round of the playoffs. And I thought that these 2 teams just were very evenly matched.
Number 4 is a new team that we added in because we called several games in the regular season because they played several teams on this list. Then we also did their state championship series. That's right. The Lakeside Chiefs. They won 50 games this year. Burnett was great on the mound, and he was their best hitter. This has just been an incredible team, and I was honored that Coach Tony Rasmus had us calling their championship game. Lakeside was an incredible team this year, Richard, and we got to see them several times. Carson Scott hit that game winner. He was incredible career for him. 53-6. They finished on the season. Demetrius Harnett had batted .457. Bullock was great. Hayes, Scott, Vachon, Britton. McGowan. They had several guys batting over 500. And then you look at pitching, Scott, Boston Brown, and Demetrius Harnett, all had over 10 wins this year. They had to move in our top 4. They won a state championship. They beat several teams on this list, including the number 2 team at home. Lakeside, number 4. Number 3, Central. A little bit, I guess you could say, a down year in terms of expectation with Coach Keogh, considering the fact he made 3 straight state championships. But they come up short in that second round. The 7A classification was the toughest classification by far. A ton of great teams. Central had a great year, though. Still won close to 30 games, and Coach Keogh's team still finished as a top 5 team in 7A. Then number 2, Brookstone, the Cougars, back-to-back state champs. They were great this year. I know they lost to Central, but again, we do our rankings based off of chance to win a championship in your league. So how did you finish in your league? And Brookstone won their championship. How's their roster compared to everyone? I think they had the best roster in 4A. Their strength of schedule was really tough. Even though head-to-head Central did beat them, the way they ended the year, I got Brookstone number 2. And then, of course, we'll talk about the number 1 team in a moment. Brookstone 2, Central 3, Lakeside 4. What do you got?
Well, Lakeside new to our rankings. Because they're not part of the 16 teams we covered. But, Eufaula still in the Chattahoochee Valley, and I was honored to call those championship games against Patrician Academy with you, Thrift, in Montgomery. Lakeside ends up taking care of business. Demetrius Harnett and Boston Brown on the mound. And just the way that Lakeside won it in game 2 with a walk-off home run. And I don't think I ever saw that as far as calling a game. I know, Thrift, that might have been maybe the first that you've called. But Connor Britton, the former Russell County Warrior, getting the big walk-off home run to win it. And I was very impressed with Lakeside. We called them several times on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. They did face Calvary, Pacelli, and Brookstone. We had all those games on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. So we were very familiar with Lakeside going into that championship. And then, of course, we called some games. Of course, the game against Glenwood. We also called the game against Brookstone. It's Central. We've had them on Georgia Alabama Sports Live several times. Sam Brown, just an outstanding hitter. You have Cooper Kehoe. Coach A.J. Kehoe has always got a great team coming back. They fell short in the quarters against Fairhope. They're a team that usually gets to the state championship. I know that was the expectations for Central. But what can you say about Brookstone? When they had their backs against the wall, when they lose to Bullock Academy in game 1, to turn around and to win after trailing in game 2 against Bullock Academy, and then they were just firing on all cylinders. They took care of business against Tatnall, and then in that championship to be down against FPD, to come back and to win it in extra innings, and they finished off the job in game 2. I was so impressed with the Brookstone Cougars winning it at Synovus Park. What a season. Any one of these teams capable of winning a championship, but, we rank them where we rank them just because, Brookstone won a championship. Central is Central, and Lakeside, they were also champions as well.
Glenwood, number 1. They took down Columbus, Calvary, Northside, Harris County. They weren't able to play Lakeside, Central, and did not play Brookstone. They were the best team in this area. They played the toughest schedule. They dominated everyone in this area. They did not lose but 1 playoff game in their entire playoff stretch, and they played 5 series, and they lost 1 game, Rich. 1. That means they went 10-1 in the playoffs. Unbelievable. And what Coach Fanning and that team with McCrane was a player of the year in the AHSA, they were by far the best team. What an incredible season for them. And to be frank with you, I think Glenwood's been the number 1 team for the last 3 years. I think everyone's trying to play catch up with them. I think the team 2 years ago was maybe even better than this year's team. Last year's team was great. Central's been up there too. Calvary's had some really good teams, but I think consistently Glenwood, I would put them up there. But for this season specifically, the Gators are number one, and they have been number one from start to finish. We have had several teams do that. So in different sports, but this year it's Glenwood. So Glenwood in baseball, start to finish, state champions in our rankings. Congratulations to them.
And we had the privilege to call all the games in the playoff run on the NFHS network. It seems like I know it was like 3 weeks ago where they were taking on Gordo in Oxford and at Jacksonville State. Thrift, you and I had the privilege. I got to call game one. You and Chris got to call game two. And they just did not skip a beat. All the naysayers, all the people that said that it was going to be the toughest challenge to go from the AISA to the AHSAA, that the competition was going to be tougher. They silenced the critics, and they end up winning a state championship. They knock out the number one team, Prattville Christian, even though it took 3 games, as we were on the call for those games as well. And they just took care of business against the defending champions, Thomasville, and then that series against Gordo to win their 25th state championship. And I know this championship's got to feel a little bit more special because it's an AHSAA state championship, and it's their 3rd in a row. And so what can you say about the Glenwood Gators, the number one team in our polls and the 3-time champions?
Unbelievable. Great season. Congratulations against Glenwood and Brookstone and Lakeside. All finished as state champions, and it was incredible to be a part of this baseball season run. We'll go through these quickly. For the girls, I was there for that. Pacelli, they finally get over the hump and get on the mountaintop. They're number one. They win the championship, and Coach Cochran, after last year's heartbreaking loss, they were undefeated and lost to Brookstone in that championship game to avenge it in what was a classic. And Brookstone and Pacelli playing in that championship game this year that I got to call 2 extra times. So Brookstone number 2. Columbus losing in the quarterfinals. Allie Lofton was great. Harris County 4, Smith Station 5, Shaw 6, Northside 7, Glenwood 8, Hardaway 9, and Russell County 10. Quickly go through those, Richard, and then we'll move on.
Well, I've had the privilege of calling Pacelli soccer games all the way up to the championship, where they end up taking care of business against Bullock Academy and FPD. Addie Christensen was great. Izzy Ramos. They've got some great players. Coach Zach Cochran winning another state championship. And by the way, this is the first soccer championship for the Pacelli girls in school history. So, and they were able to take down the champs. Brookstone, this was very impressive. They were a 6 seed, and they upset the Kings Academy and Stratford Academy to get back to the championship.
Yeah.
That was impressive. You got to give credit to Brookstone for getting back to that championship. Columbus, I was on the call in that quarterfinal against Morgan County. Of course, Allie Lofton having such a great season. They were the number 2 overall seed, but they were high on our rankings because they had an outstanding regular season. Harris County girls end up getting to the second round. Smith Station had a great season all year. They lost to a Montgomery Academy team in that first round of the 7A playoffs. Shaw ends up getting to the second round of the 2A state playoffs. Northside loses in the first round. Glenwood, in their first year in the AHSAA, loses in the first round of the playoffs. And then Hardaway and Russell County both made the playoffs.
Yep. So congratulations to all these teams. And then moving on to the boys. Number 10, Russell County. Number 9, Brookstone. Number 8, Harris County. 7, Jordan. 6, Northside. 5, Central. Columbus, who made the playoffs and made a good run. Calvary, who was really a game away from playing in that championship, lost 1-0 to Stratford. Shaw, who made it to the championship game. Incredible season for them and losing. And then Pacelli, Coach Gooch's team, winning it all and taking down Stratford and avenging last year's loss. They made it to the championship 3 straight years in a row. They won it all in 23, lost in 24, and then back to as champions in 2025. So Pacelli boys and girls sweep as they are champions and both finished number 1 in the poll.
Yeah, and Pacelli was the 4 seed. I was on the call for that Pacelli-Cristo Rey game where Cristo Rey played a man down. So Pacelli was able to get the win because they had a extra man over strength. But to beat the number 1 overall seed, Tallulah Falls, to get to the championship, and to beat the defending GIAA champion Stratford Academy, what an incredible run that Coach Goja has done for that. And you talk about seniors like Jack Fry. You have Noah Bowers. You know,
Chad DeLelio.
Yeah, DeLelio. Yeah, he was great too. I mean, they have Devon Singleton.
Jude Arsenault.
Yeah, the freshman. He's only a freshman. Just an incredible season. How about this? 2 out of the last 3 years, Pacelli has been champions in soccer. And we got another sport where the Pacelli boys and girls sweep the champions like they had with basketball. So, yeah, I do want to touch up on Shaw. What a great run.
Unreal, Rich.
By Coach Curtis Moore and those Shaw Raiders. I got to see them on the call when they beat Jordan in that epic penalty shootout. They just playing a very tough Drew Charter team, but to get upset wins over at Coahulla Creek, Shaw making it, and Calvary. They only lost to Stratford 1-0. Calvary was 1 goal away from possibly playing Pacelli in the championship. Columbus had a tough matchup against Coahulla Creek in the quarterfinals. I know we were hoping for that Columbus-Shaw semifinal. Northside made the playoffs. Jordan. Brookstone did not make the playoffs, but they had the leading goal scorer in the GIAA in the region, E.J. Sura. So I want to make sure to give them credit. And then Russell County making the playoffs too.
Yeah, congratulations again on great seasons, and we're really impressed to be able to see all these teams finish out on a high note, Richard. And I know it's been a lot of fun. We're not going to do an unsolicited hot take tonight because we are going to actually have time to do a show on obviously Thursday, Richard. Excuse me, not Thursday, on Wednesday. Because we don't have a lot going on this week. We don't have any live broadcasts other than Columbus United as well. So we'll be able to you'll be on that call on Wednesday. So we'll have a live broadcast in. And so I will probably end up doing a show on Thursday. We may have some summer league basketball starting later this week, but probably next week. And we'll keep up with the Columbus Lions. We're trying to hopefully the Clingstones can get back on the winning track tomorrow. They did win yesterday, but they're still 3 games behind, below 500, and they're taking on a team in Pensacola who's terrible right now. They're 1-9, so maybe they can get on the road, win this stretch, and then come back home and get back to 500, and maybe start vying for that Southern League championship, which I think they're fully capable of being able to do. All right, so thank y'all so much again for watching. We've had an incredible time. Tune in tomorrow on the Sports Vision Morning Show. Coming up here this month, we got Summer League basketball. We're going to be doing Columbus United. We're going to be doing covering the Lions, covering the Clingstones, talking obviously unsolicited, dropping new shows. Richard also starting back up State of the Union, sitting with an athletic director, state of the program. I can't wait to get that back up and running, and anything else that we can think of, we're going to be out dropping it. So stay on the lookout. Follow us on Instagram, like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and thank y'all so much for watching tonight. We'll see you next time on the Georgia-Alabama Sports Live Show. Thank you for watching the Georgia-Alabama Sports Live Show presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. You're ready to smile.